There's a lot of that fun stuff going on in Facebook. It's an incredibly valuable utility on a social basis. You move to Twitter. Twitter is kind of like what I would call the 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week newsfeed. Anybody watch CNN? You know that little scrolly bar that goes across the bottom? That's Twitter to me. It's a lot of information that's coming at you very quickly, all the time. You can find out what's going on that's really important in a nonstop barrage of information sets. That context is really important for them. And then LinkedIn, it's kind of the office. It's the place where you go to get work done, find associates, find people who can help you become more successful and more productive as a professional. And for that reason, that's all LinkedIn is ever going to be. I'll give you an example of why this is. I'm going to skip through these things since we've just talked about it. Context sensitive. Why is this important? This is a tweet. It's a pretty well-known tweet. It's from a guy named Cisco Fatty, who was renamed as such because of this tweet. Cisco just offered me a job, he tweets. Now I have to weigh the utility of a fatty paycheck against the daily commute to San Jose and hating the work. That's an interesting thing to put out there, isn't it? Well, Cisco is a technology company. So what do they write? Who is the hiring manager? Sure, they would love to know that you'll hate the work. We here at Cisco are versed in the web. Context, really, really important. So be careful what you put out there. Those of you who are in the job-seeking mode, and I spend a good deal of time talking to college students. One of the things that I always encourage them to do, put something out on Facebook as an update, and then take it down immediately and see what happens. Once it's out there, and you can't do anything about it. So being cautious, being careful about what you say, especially something that you put in print, it's incredibly, incredibly important. Well, that's interesting enough, but what if you put this in the context of the Twitter universe? So here's a Twitter stream. This is not mine. First one, finished watching 2012, was so tank. I have no idea what that means. Next tweet, just made blueberry cheesecake ice cream, and now it's time for poker. How do those two things go together? I'll never understand that. And then this one, my personal favorite, this old woman just hit on me. Socially very interesting. A whole bunch of different weird stuff going on out there. Why people are broadcasting this to the world, I don't really know. And then all of a sudden, whoa, from the Wall Street Journal. Apple surpassed Microsoft today as the most valuable technology company with a market cap of $223 billion. What just happened to your brain when you went from the 3 prior tweets to this one? It's totally out of context. It doesn't make sense. It feels all wrong. Shift this over to a totally different context. Let's put it in the case of a LinkedIn. Now all of a sudden we're looking at someone's network activity. You see someone who's following a bunch of new companies. They're interested in what's going on at the Wall Street Journal. Mike Jennings just said, great to see Linux Care back once again. Pretty exciting stuff. And you get the idea that in context, this is far more meaningful information. And that's why context is so important. So let's move into the professional web. Does this look familiar to anyone? Really? A couple people? This is LinkedIn circa 2003. In 2003, a guy by the name of Reid Hoffman, who was a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, one of the head people at, not eBay, what's the, no? PayPal. Thank you. Thank God you're here. So Reid Hoffman's at PayPal. Reid's an interesting guy. He's the founder of LinkedIn. And what Reid noticed in the world was that 2 things were happening. One is that the number of times that people were changing jobs was increasing throughout the course of their career. My father spent 35 years with one company. I'm on my something company right now, and I've got a long way to go, I hope. That's one interesting thing. The second interesting thing is Web 2.0 has pretty much emerged in 2003. What's the difference between Web 1.0 and Web 2.0? Web 1.0 is a push of information. Companies are putting websites up there. They want you to come and somehow find them and read what they are delivering to you. Happens for individuals as well. Web 2.0 is a conversation. There's information that's going two ways. People are sharing information back and forth. It's much more interactive. So Reed saw the world as one that was changing tremendously. It's going from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0, and people are moving all over the place. And he said, whoa, there's an opportunity here. That opportunity is to help people find, connect, and stay in touch with the people who they've worked with or want to do business with. It's a really interesting emerging opportunity. He also said, what's going to be difficult is that until LinkedIn reaches about 500,000 members, we can't really provide any value to anyone. This is 500,000 people that are all basically connected over one platform, and we're delivering no value. I'll show you what LinkedIn looked like, 500,000 members. That's our entire team, 13 people. I was not there back then, by the way. I wish I was. We're now at 1,300 people, about 8 years later. And so this whole thing has been developing, and this opportunity that Reed saw is really to connect talent with opportunity at massive scale. And those two last words, massive scale, that's something that's really important to us. So what is scale? Scale is the ability to develop at a very high rate so that you can deliver massive amounts of information or value to a large set of people or companies very quickly. That's something that we knew we had to do right from the beginning. And then the second thing that we had to do is we had to keep track of what was going on with people. All these changes that are taking place, this is not a static world, this is a highly dynamic world, especially in the professional sphere. We need to figure out how to get that information to those right people all over the place. And that's really what we've come around to trying to do. And so ultimately what we're doing is we're fundamentally changing the way that the world does business. And that's what we intend to continue to do. We will never be in the photo sharing place. We will never be in the poking world. We're not going to be tweeting. But we will continue to focus on professional and making sure that people are more successful and more productive as a result of using LinkedIn. So our mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's take a look at the growth trajectory of LinkedIn. So as you remember, in 2003, about 500,000 members, we became slightly valuable to our members. What we did was we decided we're going to take the slow road to becoming a large network. And what I mean by slow road is that back in the original days of social media, Friendster in particular, it only took a one-way connection for two people to be linked. So if you remember this, if somebody said they knew you, they were friends with you, well, then you were friends. You didn't have to approve them. There was no need for, this contract to exist. But we know that that's not the way the world works. Two people actually have to agree to be connections in order to have a real relationship. That really slowed us down. We wanted to grow faster than that, but we knew that if it was a one-way street, that wouldn't be a trusted network. And so as a result, we said, you know what, it takes two people to actually have a relationship. Let's grow more slowly as a result, but let's build this thing based on trust. Just earlier this month, we passed 120 million members, more than half of whom live outside the United States. So if you believe in Thomas Friedman, the world is flat, we do as well. We know that connections are happening well outside of this country alone. And in fact, we anticipate that the bulk of our growth is going to happen outside of the United States and outside of North America. What we've done with this network is we're offering it to companies that are using it primarily for three purposes. One is to hire and find great employees. So we're working with about 6,000 companies right now that are using LinkedIn to find great candidates for their hardest to fill roles. 75 of the Fortune 100 are LinkedIn customers, and they're basically going onto LinkedIn and trying to figure out who are the right people that they can't find anywhere else in the world unless they spend a lot of money doing it, and hiring those people to join their companies. The number one most used thing on LinkedIn is people search. There were over 2 billion people searches conducted on LinkedIn alone in 2010. That number is increasing, by the way. And as our network continues to grow, which it does at a rate of about 2 new members every second, will continue to be the primary source for professional information anywhere in the world. We're also introducing company pages. So for those of you who own small companies, this is a place to get the word out about your company. Make it context relevant. Make sure that this is a place where your customers, your partners, your employees can find you, connect with you, and share valuable insights and information that makes them more successful and productive. So the vision, long term, this is our big idea, is to create economic opportunity for every professional in the world. We know that there are about 500 million what we would call professionals on the planet. So if our network is about 120 million, we're a quarter of the way to connecting all of the professionals on the planet. But we believe that there are 1.3 billion working people on the planet. And what we'd like to do is find a way to help them become more successful and productive as a result of using LinkedIn. That's our big, dreamy, hairy goal, as we talked about it. So we talked about context. Let's talk a little bit about data. This is me. I promise I won't make you look at my photo for much longer. What's interesting about data is if you think about your own LinkedIn profile, what's in there? Well, there's a lot of information. That's all very, very interesting and useful. One, you know who I am. You know the company I work for. You know I work in Chicago. You know I work in the internet industry. You can also see that I used to do a bunch of other stuff. I used to be a consultant. I went to school in Atlanta and in Chicago. I had various roles, various functions. All of that information, that's all really interesting data. Imagine that volume of data on 120 million professionals. With that, we can create some incredible insights. This is one of the things that I was talking about earlier, is you're thinking about LinkedIn and what you should put on LinkedIn. If you're in the mood to be sought out by your potential dream employer, for those current employers that don't want me saying this, sorry, this is kind of the reality of the world right now. But this is the technology, this is the LinkedIn login that employers are currently using. This shows them 120 million people using search results that they can put in like they would a Google search. So for example, if I were looking for someone who is a merger and acquisition expert in China, in the financial services or investments industry, I would find 38 people that met that description, and I could reach out to those who are open to receiving an index. Lots and lots of data. What if I wanted to try and target very specific skills? This is something that all of you can do, by the way, anytime you want to do it. Go to LinkedIn Skills and start looking up other people that have the same skills that you do. Or if you're thinking about where you want to go and do business next and you need certain people with certain skill sets, you can do searches in order to find out where those people exist. Where's the concentration of people with specific skill sets? So for example, if I was looking for risk management, I could see that there's a lot of demand for people that are in risk management. Anybody here in risk management? No? It's too bad, because the demand curve for risk management is going way up. What that would tell me is this is somewhere that maybe I should be developing skills, because I imagine that if demand is going up, so is compensation. And I like money. I can also see other people that are in this category, people with the same skill sets in risk management. I can identify people that are like me that maybe I should be connected to. Maybe we should share some information with one another. There could be, I would imagine that there's a lot of Lotus that exists on LinkedIn. How do I find the right people that can, again, make me more successful and productive? This is one of the areas of LinkedIn where you can easily do that. And then finally, What if I was looking for a job within this category? I could search very specifically on the jobs that are related to my skill sets in the areas where